Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're going to be playing what is hopefully the final premier draft of Murders at Karlov Manor for a long time. It's a fine set, but I do get really antsy when I've had to draft the same format like 3 weeks in a row like we have here, with the alchemy drafts and the regular drafts the week before that leading up to the Arena Open, and then this week it's literally the only draft format available on Arena right now. So I'm really ready for a change of pace, getting super tired of the set, but we'll see if we can't leave it off with the swan song, not the swag song that it deserves. And we get to play some kind of sweet red aggro deck, starting with Reckless Detective. We'll see. We'll see. This is a really good pack. It's also got Inside Source. It's got Surveillance Monitor for slower blue decks. But I'm going to get aggro if I can. That way, win or lose, we can wrap up the final draft of Murders at Karlov Manor pretty quickly here. So Maverick Thopterus is a really sweet card from the list. It's for blue-red specifically, so it is a little narrow in terms of the decks it can go in, but it's a very powerful card. Kind of awkward to see it in the same pack as Dogwalker and Watchdog, because those really try to pull me towards Boros, but I think this card is good enough to head towards blue-red instead. You can improvise it with some clue tokens and stuff, play it for only like 3 or 4 mana, and it's a 2/2 with 2 1/1s with flying. Just a really, really strong card, and it goes really well with Reckless Detective. This card works excellently in any red deck, but super, super great in blue-red. For pick 3 towards blue-red, we have Deduce, which can get some extra value in this color pair with that clue token, just caring about artifacts in general, being able to improvise the Maverick Thopterus and stuff like that. So pretty solid card for blue-red, but we could also take the Vigilante, leaving that red-white path open. But I think I'll take Deduce here. Pick number 4, happy to be in red. That's a pick 4, Fugitive Codebreaker. 2 mana, 2/1 Prowess. Haste is a great card for any aggro deck, but if you draw it later, you can also flip it up to draw a fresh new hand. That's great as well. Pick 5, Red Herring's great for blue-red. You do care about artifact permanence. You do care about sacrifice and clues. This helps with both of those things. Pick number 6, I guess Orangutan makes more sense in this archetype than any other, but I still really am not a fan. I'll just take a Vigilante. Keep that Boros option a little open. Wow, Cold Case Cracker, Shock, Museum Night Watch, Furtive Courier is good too. I think we have to just take the Shock here. We are much more married to red than anything else. Shock is great cheap removal, but that's a really good pack. For pick number 8, Bystander's fine, because it does every now and then replace itself with a clue. It's pretty filler, but helps get your 2-drop counts up. I think that's better than taking an Investigators here. Card's not that exciting in blue-red, which is the only place we'd end up. We're not going to be blue-white detectives. We're super locked on red. Seeing a pick 9 Offender at large as well. Pick 10 Analyst is fine in blue-red. Braggart's kind of filler at 5 mana. I much prefer the Offender at larges that you can run out early, but also still play as a good 5-drop. Pick 11, Felonious Rage, Candlestick Juggler. I don't really like Candlestick and Juggler. I don't like Felonious Rage that much either, but I think it's a little better. You get to trade that into giving you a 2/2 for only 1 mana. Pick 12, I guess we take the Outfitter, because I'm not running Thinking Cap without it. Alright, we've got an Outfitter and a Thinking Cap. If we manage to pick up a Magnifying Glass, it might be worth it. Don't do this to me, Arena. Don't give me the Maverick Thopterus to try to go for the sweet blue-red deck, and then give me the War Leader's Call after I passed a bunch of Great White. I mean, I don't think we can justify not going Boros now. This card's just absurd. Buffs your whole board, so your 2-drop 2/2s are now 3/3s, so they're really relevant even late in the game. And if you play it early, you're damaging every time you play a creature's card. It's just really, really good. Lightning Helix is also great. Shock is also great. We're not going to wheel either of those, but yeah, War Leader's Call is by far the best card. The Boros stuff's better than the Izzet stuff. So we got to go to Boros, where we do get to take a Makeshift Binding over nothing good for Izzet, so pretty lucky pivot there off the rare. Pack 2, pick 3, another Offender at large goes in the deck no matter what. The white cards are not great. The Deduce is pretty good for blue-red, but I think Offender at large is also perfectly solid there. Pick 4, Galvanize is excellent either way. Pick 5, Chases On is excellent either way, and none of the blue cards are that good in blue-red, so we keep sticking to red. 3 white cards deep and 3 blue cards deep, but the white cards are significantly stronger than the blue cards we have right now. Take another Vigilante in that case over Technician, because our white's better than our blue. Okay, Automaton's fine either way. Museum Night Watch is a great pickup. Trade off your Night Watch, still leave a creature behind. It's a really nice 2-for-1. And make sure that you still have stuff committed to the board, which is great. Just rare draft a Spell Snare, I don't have any of those yet. I'm gonna rare draft an uncommon here. I think we're locked in on Boros. I mean, red is just so open that we could just take mostly red cards. Take white cards early in the pack, and then whatever red later. Okay, pack 3, pick 1. We've got Inside Source versus Fuss and Bother. These are both excellent cards. 12 creatures, 6 non-creatures. I need more creatures pretty badly, and Inside Source is really good with War Leader's Call. 3 mana for a 2/2 and a 3/3 is insane, and we deal damage off each of them. Fuss and Bother is much more flexible than Inside Source, being able to be the combat trick kind of win condition off of Fuss, or be a really good way to reestablish a board late in the game off Bother. But I really like the Inside Source with the War Leader's Call, and I really want to get this creature count up at 12 to 6 creatures to non-creatures, so I'm grabbing the Inside Source. Pack 3, pick 2, another Reckless Detective. Super happy with that. We're not going to wheelie on the job, but Reckless Detective is incredible. Pack 3, pick 3, Meddling Youths or Galvanize. Meddling Youths isn't even that good, but I could use more creatures. I think I could use more cheap creatures though, right? Because I have 2 5-drops as well as 2 cards that flip up as 5-drops. So I've got plenty of like 5-mana dorks. Let's take the Galvanize. Neighborhood Guardian. Pack 3, pick 4. Join us. Super good with any creature played the turn after it, but incredible with something like Inside Source that gives you 2 triggers immediately. Pack 3, pick 5. This is not a great Call of Surprise Witness deck. It's an okay one. I think it's a pretty solid case of the Burning Masks deck, though, because we're definitely deeper into red than white, so we'll have the double red pretty consistently. Pack 3, pick 6. Pick 6, Inside Source. White seems more open than blue, which is not usually the case, but looks like it is here. Pretty wild. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 disguise cards. That's not enough for Mask Maker. Pick 8, Makeshift Binding? I like Auspicious Arrival a lot too, but I can't possibly take that over Binding. Good grief. Yeah, this was the place to be. I think I'd rather run a Gadget Technician as a double red 3-mana card than a 3rd Vigilante. So I'll grab a Chases On for that option. Well, get another Chases On. Definitely won't play. I don't think we're playing a Crowvat Haunch either. Suspicious Arrivals, spicy, but Granite Witness is decent. I've got double Chases On, doing very similar things to what the Auspicious Arrival would have done. Just a little more expensive, though, which is awkward. Okay, 45 cards, 18 creatures, 10 non-creatures. Let's cut 1 or 2 creatures, 3 non-creatures. Felonious Rage has got to go immediately. Don't care enough about that. We've got 2 Galvanize and Shock for really efficient removal. Case can 2-for-1, which is nice, but it is less efficient. 4 Infamiliar is not great here. Innocent Bystander's not great. I think those are my least favorite 2-drop creatures we have in here. And then it's like some part of the 3-mana clump, probably. Kind of like the whole 3-mana clump, though. I could just go boop, 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 boop. Because 4 Unfamiliar is also part of that 3-mana clump. Yeah, 16 to 7, not bad at all. I think we're going to get these islands out of here, for sure. But then we will call it a deck here. All right, here we have a look at the final deck list for today, and it's going to be a sweet Boros deck. We've got really efficient removal with Shock, double Galvanize, and double Makeshift Binding, as well as a great curve of creatures, some premium 2-drops like Neighborhood Guardian and double Reckless Detective, into excellent 3-mana plays like Inside Sources, or plenty of things that can flip into big finishers like Offender at Larges, Granite Witnesses, a Gadget Technician, so looks like a super sweet deck here. We did start with a cool Is It card. I really wanted to go in that direction, but we couldn't really resist Boros' call of the War Leader's call. Boros was calling to us, pulling us in that direction, and it actually did seem potentially more open than blue out of pack 3 because we got like a relatively late Inside Source and Binding and stuff there. Didn't see a lot of great blue though, so weird draft pod, but we're just right back into Boros for some more aggro nonsense, and we'll see how it plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. Well, that is not a good start mana-wise. Specifically need a plains, or we're only playing one spell. I think I have to mulligan. I am on a 9-8 split arena. What the heck? I'm literally as close to 50-50 as you can get with an odd land count. Oh, that's frustrating. No turn 2 Neighborhood Guardians for us. I really don't want this to go like our last Boros deck did, where we lost a lot of games because we just kept mulliganing hands like that. We're literally a 9-8 split, but we're gonna be a mono red deck. Now this is horrendous for us. I guess we have to ditch the Guardian at this point, because I can curve out with Gadget Technician for the turn. Still... No! Don't play one of the like top 10 best cards in the whole set. I'm glad this is the last draft I'm recording today. This is absurd. No blocks. Okay. Can we play Offender at Large? Shock Tipster before they can use its mana? For any flips or anything? Well, there's another tipster for the future. Send in a 2/2, you got me. Down 18. Another Offender. I don't have the mana to even flip the first one, so... I really don't want to discard the chases onto this detective, but... I have to discard something to attack with it. I don't want to discard Offender either. I guess I could cast it pre-combat? That seems awful, though. I think we just have to discard Offender at Large. We're 13 cards in with no planes. Do our thing. Now we can use Detective to crack the clue for free so we don't have to discard a card, but honestly, if we don't hit a plains, we'll probably still just discard the tracker. Ew. Exit Specialist. It was off of the cloak too, so they hit a flip card off the cloak. With the hide in plain sight, which is just really good value. Yeah, now there's a whole roadblock. See, if we draw exactly a plains, then we'd go plains War Leader's Call instead of Detective. Probably play Detective over Automaton, though. Right? We have stuff to discard. Accusation to lock down the Detective. Statistically unlikely things are happening, and I'm not a fan of it. That's somehow the correct block. They won that coin flip pretty big. I think we flip this up and cast Automaton then instead of flipping up the Offender. Where are you? Where are the planes, though? How many instant sorceries I got engraved? 2? 4 mana to flip this? They're at 10 life here. I think that matters enough. We're almost halfway through our deck, which means on average, we should have seen like 4 planes by now. This has been really rough. Now we're forced into a bad block here with Automaton. I can crack back for 8. It's nowhere near lethal. I mean, it is near lethal, but it's not lethal. Since it's got a block anyway, I might as well trump the most damage. Fashionably late. I don't think there's any way we win from here. Eight life, a single trumper is enough to survive the crackback. And if they block, I don't need a blocker up on board. They need a trick to kill me. Do I attack both, and then if they block, I flip it? If they don't block, I play tracker as my trumper? That might be the line. Okay, they don't block, so I play tracker as the trumper. I don't really have a line here that I can play that isn't just dead to removal, because then I just have no shot of cracking back for lethal. Now, if they don't have the removal or the combat trick, I do probably kill them on the crackback. They're at 7. If they let the face down in, that single-handedly deals 7 damage. I guess it's not like a probably kill them, it's just like a chance at killing them. That's all I have at this point. Our blocks are terrible. If I just hold everybody off. They had the combat trick to kill me. I feel like they just attack with all 3 anyway. And if they have the combat trick to kill me, they're in green, so it kills me even if I block. Never mind, unless it's exactly Fey Flight, because I should go screw myself today, says Arena. The green combat trick there is +3/+3 trample, so it would have killed us even if we blocked. And that one's a common, and they have 5 green sources and 1 blue, so I was more playing around the green one. I guess if we played around the blue combat trick and they didn't block on the crackback, we could have won, but don't think that was going to be the case. Because at that point, we would be down to take 4. We'd be down to 4 life. So if I attack, they're pretty confident the only way they lose is if I randomly kill them, so they can just trump with Tipster and have 2 lethal threats on board against a single 1/1. Yeah, I don't see any universe where they weren't going to block there, so I don't think it matters. That was just really rough draws to start things off. Arena has decided the victor of that game, and it was certainly not us. We are 0-1 heading into game 2. Here we are for game 2 on the play with both our colors. Hopefully we can make up for some real nasty draws game 1. Just get a nice quick victory off this excellent hand. Playing against a red deck. Hopefully no turn 2 Galvanize for our detective, so we can use that to sift through our draws here. Gleaming Gear Drake, that is not a Galvanize. Could Galvanize their Gear Drake, but it's still going to be small enough to kill... Still going to be small enough to kill with Galvanize even after they sack 1 clue, so I'm going to just keep expanding my board and getting as much damage in as possible for now. Ace down 2/2 on blocks. Could just galvanize that, send in with the whole team, but it's only 1 less damage. To not send in with the inside source, so I think we're fine to do that. Am I discarding here? Oh, not the mountain this time. Discard the Granite Witness, go for the wide board state with Technician. I think that's fine. We don't have the double white to flip up the Technician yet anyway. Alright, sweet. Makeshift Binding for more removal. They take all the damage. So they don't want to trade that off. Kind of makes me feel like it's alright to just galvanize it then. Still have Binding for Gear Drake. I do really like how Galvanize fits in the curve, though. If we drop our face down now, we get to flip it up and Galvanize next turn, even if we don't find another land. Innocent Bystander and Fugitive Codebreaker, so just a bunch of blockers here. Ooh! It's a bunch of 2 power blockers, a bunch against a bunch of 3 power attackers. Big boom. Looks excellent to me. Yep, it's pretty excellent. They're down to 8. I don't love not having the land to discard to the Reckless Detective, but I do really like being able to galvanize in their end step. Don't even even play a creature so we don't have to. And perfect draw. Now I've got something to ditch to the detective. Eliminate the impossible. -2/-0. They still take 2 damage. They get another clue. Go with their Gear Drake here. Still think I'm saving my removal for anything they try to hold up as a blocker rather than if they keep attacking with Gear Drake. Like, that's fine. We're at 16. Yeah, you got us. Get in there. Basher. Alright, now they're just dead. Galvanize and send in. Alright, that was kind of the exact polar 180 from game 1. We had just super bad opening hands and really bad draws, and now we just had an excellent opener and solid draws throughout the game. So 1-1, we've seen both ends of the spectrum in terms of where our deck can function. Hopefully it continues a little closer to that game than the first one. Well, this hand could end up going like either of our first 2 games, and it's going to be up to Arena to decide. If they don't have the cheap removal for Detective, this really helps dig for the white source towards the call. Ooh, Arena's on our side this time. This is going to be phenomenal. The Jaded Analyst, though. That would be a little annoying if it weren't for the bomb rare that lets us still send in. War Leader's Call looking incredible here. And honestly, the stuff's cheap enough. I'm ditching a land. Probably ditching Technician next time. It's Forensic Researcher on blocks. They could double block Detective. I hit for 3. I only kill 1 of the 2, but I've got Galvanized to surprise. Oops. Oops, actually, I'm still doing great. And, you know, surprise Galvanize oops means Codebreaker's actually kind of sweet here, too. Because oops, I prowessed as well. Did someone go prowess all over the floor? Yes. Codebreaker did. I mean, they could just trade Analyst for Codebreaker. That'd be fine. But if they try to do any double blocky nonsense, it's going to go really badly for them. Or if they just don't block, we just prowess for damage. While killing the Researcher to slow them down. An opponent is in the think tank. They are going to Analyst it up here. You got it. Three mana, face down. Yep. All right, let's go for mana efficiency here in case we draw on anything. Go ahead and Galvanize Researcher now. Probably ditch the planes. If I have a 2-drop off the top, then if I draw a new hand, we get to dump this and the 2-drop. Ooh. I really don't want to discard Inside Source, but I also really want to play the Vigilante. I guess they've got the 2 mana up for the counter unless we pay 2 right now. I think I'm still going to ditch Plains, draw a card, hope to actually just hit a basic, go Inside Source with 2 extra mana up. Maybe that's living in fear a little too much. But there we go. Just an excellent play if they do have reasonable doubt. And it's still a really good board state if they don't. Alright, this is still making just as much power as the Vigilante would. I guess Vigilante's one more power because it also puts a +1/+1 counter somewhere, but it's still looking great. It's a wider board state to be easier to break through. There's the white source from Nervous Gardener. They are the 4-color green super splashy deck that gets to play every bomb in the draft pod, and unfortunately for us, that means one of those bombs is the board wipe, which is a nightmare. Yeah, you got it. Here's Vigilante. And they're tapped out of a counter. One hit from Vigilante and they're dead. Surveillance monitor to really make sure Vigilante doesn't hit them. It's multiple chumps, but they are only chumps. So there's that. Bubble Smuggler? Okay, now they can try to kill Vigilante. But it would be difficult. In fact, with Shock, we can just make sure they don't. But then I don't get to shock their face anymore, which is slightly sad. Still worth it, though. Okay, they don't try to kill Vigilante, we just kill the Bubble Smuggle. Play the Granite Witness. And pass. Well, that's huge. Double surveillance monitors. They get 2 1/1 Thopters on blocks per collect evidence. Actually wild. With a shock in hand, I think we're supposed to tap one of the monitors weirdly to help Vigilante out. Oh, well. If we draw the chases on, we're just going to cast the heck out of that. All right. It's A-okay. They're down to 6. They've got no more evidence in their graveyard for these surveillance monitors. They need to draw a way to get evidence in the grave and a way to collect evidence if they want to get a bunch of chumps again. Steam Core Scholar, fantastic card. Draw 2, discard 1 if they discard an instant sorcery or flyer. Otherwise, draw 2, discard 2, which is still a good card selection. Discard 2 lands. Makeshift Binding. Still just jamming on in. Looks like the chase is on. I'll be tapped out of anything after I crack the clue. I guess unless I specifically draw a mountain, then I could crack the clue, play the mountain, still have shock up. But I would rather just hold shock up than take a chance on being able to crack the clue and hold the shock up. There's investigators to bounce one of my cards to slow me down. Which means they won't die on the crackback. Actually, they will still die because I can just binding the flyer and then shock their face. So yeah, whichever one they bounced, we could have just killed them. We're good. Alright. Binding the flyer and shock the face, and we are now 2-1 with the Boros build. Here we are for game 4 on the draw. We don't start till turn 3, but our mana works out well here. Cards we have are decent, but not great. We could get flooded. I think we keep this. But it is on the borderline here. It could draw pretty poorly. It could also draw super well, as all hands can. Start off with the plains, pass from there. Playing against red-green with turn 2 Tunnel Tipster on the play, so they're going to be playing 4 drops while I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs with 2 mana on board. What is with all the rares? Hide in plain sight here from our opponent. Feels like the 4th copy of today's recording session. 2nd copy in this draft alone, which is wild. We've only played 4 games now. Yeah. That, honestly, for just an average hand like this, puts us insanely far behind. Because that's a turn 3 hide in plain sight on the play. Yeah, I'm going to do what I can, but we are certainly in a pretty bad position here already. There's an Analyze the Pollen to pick up a plains. Then I've got 4 out of 5 colors. I mean, I don't think there's any world in which we can take the aggressive lead, so we block the tipster and hope they don't have a trick in hand. They do not. Got a forensic researcher to play. So we've got 4 mana now. Binding the researcher, or just play 1 creature. Since I can only play 1 creature here no matter what, I'll go for the automaton over the offender, since I could hard cast that. Next turn, immediately have it face up. If I block here, I have to hope that I block the non-creature cloaked card. If they're lucky, they found 2 creatures in the top 5, but if they found 1 creature, 1 non-creature, I might be able to get a trade here. Worst case scenario, they spend a bunch of mana flipping it, and then it's face up for a makeshift binding, which isn't terrible. Alright, we did get a trade. That was an out cold, so it was a non-creature. So this one, pretty likely to be a creature if they wanted one. There's a they went this way to set up their mana. And give them a clue so they're not even really spending a card to do that. What do we do here? Kind of want to have some 2/2s to go with Vigilancy, but they're all 3 mana 2/2s. Can only play 1 per turn, and I can't play another spell with them. That is the awkward part about having spent Automaton here. They've got so much evidence for this researcher that I'm not going to be able to block if I just drop a single creature here. I guess at least I force them to pay for the ward to tap this. So they don't get to crack the clue in my end step. Oh, uh-oh. Untap a mana. Ah. I see. Alquist Proft so they can crack the clue to like gain 4, draw 4. And they have the island. I was going to say I've got a slight chance here because they could tap the blue and then tap Researcher to try to untap the island. And in response to that, I could tap Alquist. But if they have 2 islands on board, if I try to tap Alquist, they just activate them. And I can't stop that. So, if they didn't hit this island, I could have responded to them trying to untap to have the second blue for Alquist. But I mean, now, like, I guess I can force them to do it right now, but we just go right back to being miles behind. Gain 5, draw 5. Yeah, sure is. Full grip of 7 cards. Counteract all the damage I'm going to deal to them this turn, so they just stay at 20 after I swing for 5. Just bad. Just a bad time all around. I could have went Binding and Detective just in case they hit another clue for Alquist, but then I wouldn't have Binding for Incinerator the Guilty. You gotta love the 5-color green decks that get to play every bomb in the draft pod. It really feels like the two core components of this format are really just white-based aggro and green-based oops all rares. It's part of what I was saying at the very start of the draft, where I just feel like I've played all these games 100 times by now. So I've drafted the set like 21 times in the last 3 weeks. This is the outrace or die matchup. We could not outrace because they were on the play with Hide in Plain Sight turn 3. So we're on the die part of the game. Is Hide in Plain Sight, Incinerator the Guilty, Alquist Proft. Glintweaver's not a rare, but it's still pretty balmy in the late game. Yeah, I'm just going to move on to the next game. There's nothing in our deck that's going to recover from this at this point. Here we are for game number 5 on the play. I have to hit a land. But if I hit a land, we're in a really, really nice position. Codebreaker into call into Offender at large for the first 3 turns, and there's the land. It's going to be big damage, nice and quick on the play. Another green deck here. Green-white for now. Here's the call to hit for 3. Actually 4, because prowess too. Unless they have instant speed removal for 2 mana. Have to be the exile an attacking creature. They do not have that, so they take 4 damage there. Green, white, and blue. Yeah, looks like one of the 4-color mush kind of decks here. Can't attack into the face down with Codebreaker if I don't trigger prowess right now, so I guess we just kill it. And then hard cast Offender next turn. Ooh, that was a good kill. Killing the Museum Night Watch before it flips up so it doesn't replace itself. It's definitely good. Buried in the Garden, exile the Codebreaker or the War Leader's Call. They go for the War Leader's Call. Here's the Offender at large. Actually a little better against spot removal to go Detective plus Offender this turn and just hit less hard for now. There's Loxodon Eavesdropper. Hit for 6 damage here if they block the offender. If I makeshift binding, I hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well. So I can't lethal unless they block wrong. I guess I have to ditch a detective because I need to buff. That's a little awkward. This is lethal. Question mark. 9 damage. Alright, 9 damage. We are now 3-2, heading into game 6. Alright, here we are for game number 6. We are on the draw, but the hand is good. Detective into inside source, into tracker, into vigilante. That is a full curve, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the plan is to just roll out. Alright, they're on red. Boros Mirror. I was gonna say shock to flip the tempo, but they played the 3 toughness 2 drops, so that's not happening. Ooh, stuck on 2 lands, are you? I think I'm just gonna play 2 2 drops on turn 4, rather than 1 tracker. 1/3 is real annoying here, so I'm gonna throw that in the trash. Remember when I said I was gonna play 2 2 drops? Because they blocked, I'm gonna shock now, which means that I am just gonna play a 3 drop next turn, which is awkward. I'm gonna ditch this, because if I hit 6 lands, it's a pretty big deal. I do want the 5th land for Vigilante, but 6th land I really don't. And I guess I'm gonna have double detective sitting here going crazy, so I'll be able to find it regardless. Okay, well, I'm glad I didn't keep the land, because we are hitting plenty. Alright. Kept a 2-lander and just didn't draw any lands, just some rough luck for our opponents. And that is going to put us to 4-2 now, a positive record no matter what. At least breaking even out of the draft. Pretty happy with that, but we'll see how far we can take it heading into game number 7. Here we are for game 7. Very bad mana. 1 red source and we're doing gold. And if we don't hit the red source, we're still on Night Watch turn 3 at least. I'll roll with it. We've got 9 red sources. Super excellent start there, hitting it immediately. Now I don't even have to build up anxiety. Everyone knows anxiety points are like rad counters. They mill you and burn you at the start of your turn. Clandestine Meddler. Okay, opponent is getting aggressive. In that case, on the play, some suspect aggro stuff. I don't mind trading Detective off instead of Galvanize, so I'm gonna just send it in here. Alright, yeah, and our opponent does want the trade, so we get to play, or the opponent does want to keep the Meddler. We get to play a face down this turn. Next turn, I can Galvanize and Codebreaker, or I can flip up and Codebreaker, or flip up and Galvanize. Any combination of that is going to be good. I think I want the Night Watch because it's the best defensive play because we can trade it off twice if our opponent gets to keep aggroing out. Okay, it's... I'm not going to do that against Long Goodbye. That sucks. Codebreaker plus Galvanize should hopefully flip the tempo in our favor. Going to be 5 damage cracking back at them, and they have significantly less damage coming back to us. don't like that they've got something for 2 mana or less instant speed. It feels like they have their own shock or galvanize here. It must be a shock, because if it was galvanized, they would have killed Detective before we declared the attack. Much as I like playing Vigilante, I'm gonna ditch a land still. Ooh. Probably a bad idea to not kill Meddler. But that's a reckless Detective. Yeah, it seems like a terrible idea to not just kill the Meddler here. Oh, it's Felonious Rage? Okay. It's not exactly good, but it's not horrific. Case of the Crimson Pulse. If they manage to dump their hand out, that will be super bad for us. Because they get to draw 3 a turn instead of 1. Let's hope this game ends before that case gets solved or anything. Mega Detective. Ditch this other detective now that I have the mana to play and flip Granite Witness in 1 turn. It's gonna be pretty sweet. Snarling Gorehound. Play a face down. Surveil one. This is going to be a really close game. They have another Felonious Rage. Could Granite Witness tap Gorehound? They block there, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're not dead. Let's have another Felonious Rage. I feel like the odds aren't great. Hopefully it's just Shock here. Is that a Rage? Wow, alright. You got me. Now the hand's empty for the solve. This blows. Sending in a 3-4 and a 2-1. 7 life. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the alternative is much better for us. We're at 5. They would still just cast Felonious Rage to solve this, even if it wouldn't kill something. We'd be at 3 life. But I'd still have a Vigilante. Yeah, because they could still just cast Felonious Rage and just get 2 extra damage in off of it. And solve the case at the same time. So it'd be 3 life with a Vigilante on board as well. Really feels like we're kind of screwed either way. Oh my god, and the deadly complication too? Yikes. Gets a counter on the repeat offender. Yep. We lose. We're in a top deck where our opponent draws 3 a turn and we draw 1. It's really disappointing. And they could just double pump this. They just play a land, double pump it, and win. If I don't make Shift Binding right now, because Vigilante can't block that, because Menace. God dang frickin' Case of the Crimson Pulsed. Oh, come on. Instant speed removal. If it was like deadly complication again for sorcery speed removal, it would just be stuck in their hand and they'd have to discard it. But nope, it's the instant speed removal for the Vigilante. Case is just going all the way to town and back. Alright, well. Super done on board. I think that's about all we could have done. Again, the only real path for an alternate line would have been to not block to play around the Felonious Rage, but we still just die. I think we even just die faster that way. Because if we don't block the Felonious Rage, they still cast it and they still solve the case. And then we're at 3 life with the Vigilante and 2 other things. Like, we have slightly better crackbacks. The issue is that our crackbacks aren't lethal, so we can't even afford to do them, because if they hit us with just even 1 creature at that point, we're dead, because they have the 2/1 that they can dump mana into to making it 3 power, and 3 power would have killed us if we had let that Felonious Rage through. Yeah, I just don't think there was anything we could do. Just a really good low curve hand to solve the case the Crimson Pulse early, and if you solve the case the Crimson Pulse, you kind of just win. So 4 and 3, it is kind of a bummer of a run for this deck, but at least it did much better than the last Boros deck. I think it is better than the last Boros deck. This is a pretty absurd one, double Reckless Detective, double Inside Source. I like the double Offender at Large quite a bit as well. We've got double Galvanize, double Makeshift Binding, Shock, War Leader's Call for 1 bomb in here as well, which is pretty sweet. So just a really nice Boros deck where everything is a slight underperformer, because looking at this deck on paper, I would be like, this is definitely capable of pulling off like a 7-win run. Just really did not get there today, but it was still decent. And on the plus side, tomorrow, we have War of the Spark coming back to Magic Arena for some Premier flashback drafts, and then they're going to cycle through with some other spicy formats like Ravnica mixer drafts and whatever an artifact mixer draft is, I think they say is what's coming the week after that. So, on the bright side, I'm done with Murders at Karlov Manor. Probably not going to play this format again until some Arena Open or flashback drafts in the future after the launch of Outlaws at Thunder Junction. So we are moving into my favorite time span of a set's life, which is the time span when they just start giving us a bunch of other draft formats instead, so that we can have some nice variety. I am definitely a variety drafter myself, and it was starting to get pretty grating, starting to get pretty difficult to get myself to record the same format every single day. We were nearing the end of the rope here for sure, so really happy to be moving on to some other formats. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more on your recommended feed. And if you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.